Hey, how's it going? In this video, we will be going through two different ways in which to trigger what I will call a time-based automation. Assuming that we run a hotel and that we need to send over emails, let's say 30 minutes in advance to any check-in, what we'll do is the following. If we assume that check-in time is fixed always for 4:30 p.m., then that is easy, right? Because we'll go to our automations, we'll create a new automations, and for the trigger, we will set at scheduled time. And then given that we can select the interval time, if we say run this on a days interval time basis, and we select every one interval of days, meaning on a daily basis at a given time, if we say 4 p.m., that means that the automation will run 30 minutes before default check-in time. So how we should build this automation is, okay, on a daily basis at 4 p.m., go and find records from where? From the bookings table. Which records? Those that match the following condition, which is where start date is today. I do not care much about the time, given that it's by default 4:30 we said. Then for all records found here, in this case, 2 records, given that today is July the 21st, I will have a repeating loop where I will iterate through this list. So I will select as the input the list of records found right here, meaning that I will be looping through such list. And I will add an action, meaning that for each of the records found, send an email. Do remember that when working with repeating loops, you will probably want to map not email from, or not values from find records, but values from current item. Because that's, hey, when looping on each specific item that's being looped, use those values. And that's how you would trigger and build your automation. Now, as mentioned, that happens once per day for multiple records found, one or multiple records found. Now, let's assume that this is not default at 4:30, but this could be 4:30, this could be 6:30, for instance. If we still need, and we need to make sure that the email will be sent 30 minutes prior to their check-in, then what you will probably want to do is to have an additional formula, which will be minutes for check-in, for instance. You could have a different formula, but let's just go with this one. What we'll show here is the difference, so date time difference between start date and now, where now is an Airtable function that basically provides the time of right now. And for last, we will express this in minutes. So by doing that, this is what you'll get. This one, which is negative, already occurred. This one will occur, meaning this check-in will occur in 51 minutes. So what we could do now is, hey, for each record, when minutes for check-in is equals or less than 30, then trigger the automation that will send an email for such very specific record. So if we go here, let's call this scheduled, and let's create a new automation where the trigger will not be at a scheduled time, but will be when record matches conditions. By doing that, we'll select the table bookings and we'll set the condition to be where minutes for check-in is equal or smaller than 30. Then for such specific record matching the condition, as you can see, only one, where check-in is for 30, which already occurred on my side, then send an email. Let me find that. Send an email. Okay. And therefore, when mapping, you would just be mapping the corresponding values from the record that triggered the automation. Now, 2 or 3 things that you might want to know about this last workaround is, hey, now, which is again an Airtable function, gets updated only once every 5 minutes, which means that your automation or the timing of your automation will not be or might not be super, super precise. For last, which is obvious, you will need an additional helper field, which is the formula field. Something that is great about it is that you can apply tons of conditional logic here. So you could say, hey, if booking type is A, then this. Otherwise, if booking type is B, this other thing. And depending on the output of the formula, what you want your automation to do when a record matches conditions or having conditional logic within it. So, hey, if minutes is, for instance, is 30, then send a given email. If it's bigger than 30, then do this other thing, whatever. You get the point, right? And last thing that I need to mention is that Airtable bases, if they are not used regularly, they will go to sleep, meaning that formulas, especially formulas making reference to time functions, will become inactive, and therefore this might not work if you are not using, again, your base regularly. As long as, for instance, you have some automations running on a scheduled basis, for instance, on a daily basis or something like that, your bases will not go to sleep, or if they did go to sleep, they will be awake. Okay, so I hope that helps. Feel free to reach out if you have any specific question.